Sue Klein and I are with the Clearinghouse on Women's Issues, and we're here to tell you that our next Women's Clearinghouse on Women's Issues luncheon will be on the 23rd of April, and it will deal with the issue of women and negotiation and preparing for financial literacy in later life.
Hi, my name is Emily Deeker. It's my pleasure to introduce you all to the 2019 Women's History Honorees, Visionary Women Champions of Peace and Nonviolence. These 6 women truly demonstrate the power and effectiveness of peace and nonviolence as social movements. These honorees truly exemplify that peace and nonviolence are not simply just the lack of war and violence. Peace and nonviolence truly are compassion and defiance and community building and civil disobedience and so many other methods to change the world. And we've got some extraordinary women here, so I'm not going to tell their stories. They're going to tell their stories. Our first honoree that we'll be hearing from is Dr. Ife Williams, a civil and human rights activist. From her work as a journalist, a minister, a law professor, a spokesperson for the Equal Rights Amendment, and a leader of the National Congress of Black Women, she has incorporated peace activism into all of her work. And now the board member Diana Modoshi will present Dr. Williams with her award.
On behalf of the National Women's History Alliance, it gives me great pleasure to present to Dr. Ife Williams. Visionary champion of peace and nonviolence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To Molly and the members of the National History Alliance, to my good friends from the National Organization for Women, my good friends from the Feminist Majority, from Ancestry, from the National Congress of Black Women, and from all of you, I am so delighted to receive this award. I was blessed to receive the Black Women's Journalism Award on yesterday, so today this just tops it off to be talking about peace and nonviolence. You know, there are people who seek peace in all kinds of ways. Sometimes people pray, sometimes people read, sometimes people marry somebody. It doesn't always turn out to be peaceful, but they do it anyway. But all we have to understand is it's not about getting peace from somewhere. It's about being peace. If we decide that we want to be peaceful, that's up to us. I don't know how many of you knew my good friend Dick Gregory, who always talked about the things that make us lesser people, the things that cause us to leave this earth in an untimely manner. He talked about fear, anger, jealousy. And those are the things that still take away our peace, and yet some of us seek to have fights, seek to have war, without understanding that all we have to do is to be the peace we're looking for. It's not something that you can go out and get, because if you can go out and get it, you can also lose it, right? But it is something within. I've had the opportunity to travel all around the world seeking peace, not only for women and men and children in this country, but all over the world. And I've learned that we have to care about people no matter where they are in order for us to have true peace. When we seek it just for ourselves, somehow we're going to make somebody else unhappy. We're going to make somebody else angry. And if we never seek war, we're never angry, we're never jealous, we're not afraid, then we don't have to lose if we're not seeking a war. Nobody wants to lose. But when we pick a fight, when we are in a fight, that's what happens. As a black woman, I am very proud of the things that are going on around this country especially. Almost every major city in this country has a black woman who is mayor now. New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Shreveport, Rochester, Toledo, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and soon to be Chicago. And these are women who've decided they are tired of the nonviolence, they're tired of people saying there's nothing we can do. I believe these women are going to get the peace, and people are going to be peaceful around them, we're going to have better cities. But we all need each other in order to do that. We have wonderful things that are going on with women's groups that are seeking to be peaceful and are first peace themselves. I love all of you, and I love working with you, and I hope that all of us can begin to work in coalitions so that we can do even more than we do today. And so I ask you to honor the hour tonight when we're all going to turn off our lights. Let us begin to save our country, save the world by taking an action that will be good for all of us. Be persistent when it comes to being peaceful. I love all of you. I thank you for this wonderful gift. Thank you so very much. I love you. Thank you.
Our next honoree, Zainab Salvi, is a humanitarian activist who has worked for decades to heal and empower women survivors of war. Recognizing the important role that local women play in lasting peace, she founded Women for Women International, and in the past 25 years, the organization has helped over 400,000 women in countries from Bosnia to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And now board member Martha Hope will present Ms. Salvi with her award.
History Alliance, I present to you this award for a visionary, a champion of peace, and the 2019 honoree.
Thank you.
I stay here, right? Okay. I did just come from China, so I am jet lagged. First of all, thank you so much. What an honor to receive this award. You know, I arrived to the United States of America 29 years ago. And at the time when I told people I am from Iraq, they literally took a step back. 29 years later, I get this award, which I am honored. And it tells me a few things to share. One, this is what a refugee looks like. This is what a Muslim woman looks like. This is what any woman looks like, right? So all the stereotypes that we right now are dealing with in ways like we've never heard before. Oh, I don't know, I know. Well, you all have heard before, actually, you know, you know. Well, but the stereotypes about refugees and migrants and Muslims and all of these things, you know, 29 years later, I end up creating an organization, actually within 3 years of arriving to the United States of America, I end up creating an organization, Women for Women International, that helped more than 500,000 women and distributed more than $100 million, all in the name of America because it came in America. So refugees do contribute a lot in this country. Second, I want to talk about the power of the people. When I was 23 years old and I started Women for Women International, I started it at the basement of my mother-in-law's home, Jamila, who is here in Fairfax, Virginia. I had zero amount of money. I had $400 a month. $400, like really no money. And a lot of people just kept on giving a small amount of money. just women out of the blue. I did not know anybody, and they would just call and they say, we want to join you, we want to join you, we want to join you. And that raised $120 million to women survivors of wars. So, as we going about change and building peace, never forget the power of the people. Never think that, change only comes from the big guys and the rich guys and all of these things. It does come from the people. That is the era we are living in. Third, we talked a lot about our history in this event, our honoring our ancestors, the women who have paved the way to arriving this moment today. And I also, in my table, I have a 16-year-old young woman. And the few messages that I want to add, actually, not replicate, because I loved what you shared, but add, we are living in the era of women right now. They believe that the 21st century is going to be the century of women. As we do that, and as we own our voice and speak up, remember that we need to define leadership as women define it, not as men have defined it for centuries. We are not to replicate patriarchy and how we lead. We are to define what new leadership is, and that is a new way of speaking and communicating. And it is indeed about forgiveness and loving and advocating for peace. So it's hard to find your own voice in the midst of this centuries of patriarchy, but it is important that we have that discipline to do that. Never forget the power of the people. This is, we are living in that. The grassroots is the most important thing for me. That's how change happens. And then make sure, as an activist who have dedicated my life to women's rights, and I shall die trying, I have also learned that the cause does not require us to sacrifice ourselves. So we are to enjoy the process, and we are to dance and sing throughout the process. Just because we are here for peace and social change and equality does not mean that we need to be miserable. So we need to be having fun in the process. So may we dance and dance until the end. Thank you very, very much.
Our next honoree is Sister Alice Zachman from the School Sisters of Notre Dame. She founded the Guatemala Human Rights Commission USA, where for 20 years, she gave voice to the voiceless victims, exposing the atrocities, the decades-long civil war, and the U.S. government's involvement. And we'll let her get up here. It'll take just a minute. Can we give a round of applause for the huge group that Sister Alice brought with her today? And now our former board member, Bob Cooney, will present Sister Alice with her award.
Sister Alice, on behalf of the National Women's History Alliance, it's a great pleasure to give you this honor as a 2019 champion of peace and nonviolence. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's with deep gratitude that I accept this award from the National Women's History Alliance. It's through the National Women's History Alliance that women have been able to join together, celebrate, and publicize women's strength and work, and join together continually, and inspire future generations of girls and women to change the world for the better, non-violently. The National Women's History Alliance has worked for decades to make women visible, and I personally greatly appreciate their work. I accept this award with a debt of gratitude I'm grateful to my family for the support they have given me over these many years, because many times they were concerned about me because of the actions we were taking to bring about a more peaceful world. Even if the actions were nonviolent, they were concerned because they didn't know whether we would be picked up at some point and put into jail or prison or whatever. But I could not let myself stop because of what my family was really supporting, and yet had fear and concern for me, which I really did appreciate. I'm also profoundly grateful to my religious community, the School Sisters of Notre Dame. I have been a member 70 years. And I would not trade any one of those years. And I am so grateful to the community because they gave me their blessing and assigned me to found the Guatemala Human Rights Commission in Washington, D.C., coming from Minnesota. And I started it in 1982, and it's to carry out our charism, to make the concerns of the poor. And more recently, we added, love gives everything. Our staff worked tirelessly at the commission, challenging the Guatemalan government as it killed, tortured, and disappeared hundreds of people, especially the Mayans, and destroyed more than 440 villages. We worked to publicize the genocide that was taking place in Guatemala, and those that were fleeing, to give them support and help, especially when they came to the United States. And we tried to help non-violently and in any way that we could, because we felt unless we did it non-violently, it wouldn't succeed. And then foremost, we also protested the military aid that our country was giving to the military in Guatemala. And without that aid, the Guatemalan military would not have been able to do all the tremendous and horrible acts of violence, killing, as I mentioned, so many people. We rejoice that a peace accord was signed in 1996, and we felt that this might be the time, or would be the time, when Guatemala would come to peace. And regretfully, the situation right now is very critical again. During 2018, 27 human rights defenders were killed, and I believe there have been already 3 more that have been killed this year. Nonviolence is not a word that the Guatemalan military knows about, I don't think. And so therefore, the Guatemala Commission now continues to work for nonviolence in Guatemala, nonviolence here in our country, especially that the refugees and the migrants coming at this time are treated the way any human being should be treated, with welcome and respect, no matter their color, their culture, their ways of living. And so I am very grateful that today, as I look around this room, I see and I feel great hope for a peaceful world. The Guatemala Human Rights Commission USA will continue its mission, working for a people's right to live with dignity and justice and non-violently. The National Women's History Alliance will keep foregrounding the work of women, strengthening and encouraging working together. And then joined with all of you, we will see a non-violent world arise over the horizon. And thank you very much.
is Deborah Tucker, who is a national leader on domestic violence prevention, recognizing that intimate partner violence accounts for 15% of all violent crime in the United States. She helped develop the Violence Against Women Act and has worked with countless organizations in her home state of Texas, throughout the U.S. and internationally. And now former board member Linda Wharton will present Deborah Tucker with her award.
Deborah, on behalf of the National Women's History Alliance, I am very pleased and honored to present you with this 2019 award for your tireless work on behalf of survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence. Congratulations.
Thank you, Linda and Molly and Emily and all of the staff. Lisa, everyone has been so generous. Chris, where are you? Everyone has been, behind me always, that's great, has been so loving and welcoming and encouraging. It's been a wonderful experience to have this honor come my way. And of course, I have to start first with thanking the people who are up here at this table, who are among my mentors. Toby Myers, I know exactly the date we met, April 8th, 1978, when we decided to form the Texas Council on Family Violence. She was the first president of the board of directors, and we rabble-roused together in the great state of Texas. It's not the easiest place to be a feminist. It is kind of uphill there in some respects, but with her help, Rhonda Gerson, who later chaired the Texas Council and is a very smart woman. It took me a long time to realize that she was not, in fact, both a lawyer and a doctor, because she knew the answer to everything. And so that was amazing. And Pat Roos took me under her wing when I first started coming up to DC to work on creating, along with her and many others, including Joe Biden, the Violence Against Women Act. And we infused into that the realities of what we knew from working at the local level with victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. And we brought to the table the real experience of women in crafting that legislation. And Pat helped me understand the way that Congress works and how to, having learned in the Texas legislature, Congress seems so easy, really, because they were at least polite and listened, and we weren't necessarily accustomed to that. James is also up here, and I want to thank you for your respectful engagement of me in the military community, which has been an important passion for me, to try to figure out how to support the military in changing the way that it works with domestic and sexual violence. And James gave me opportunities that allowed me to learn and to contribute. So thank you. Thank all of you for being here and supporting me in this way. I want to also say that Toby and I had shared in a historical respect, and we created an archive for the work of the Texas Council on Family Violence, and then later the work of the National Center on Domestic and Sexual Violence. It's at the University of Houston Women's Archive. So if you're in Houston, make a point of stopping by the university, visiting the Women's Archives, and you will see all manner of things that we preserved, local, state, national, and international, in building an effort to end violence against women. And so with that, I will say, lastly, that of all the strange and wonderful opportunities that have come my way, this one, for some reason, has sent my 84-year-old parents into orbit. They are so happy at this acknowledgement. And so I called them into the room to say thank you for urging me to do whatever I really felt like I needed to do, and for not suppressing me, but saying feisty women make things happen. Go forth, kiddo. And so I was very lucky. Thank you.
Welcome back, and I'm happy to be interviewing Sue Klein. I've known her for many years and her work with the Feminist Majority and the Clearinghouse. Sue, tell us a little bit about the work you've been doing with those organizations.
Well, I'm now the co-president of the Clearinghouse on Women's Issues, and we're really happy that you all, with Maryland Women's Heritage Center, did I get the name
Yes,
perfectly
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Are a member of the Clearinghouse on Women's Issues, and I'm also the Education Equity Director at the Feminist Majority
And you've had that
Foundation.
position for some time, haven't you?
Yes, since 2003 when I retired from the U.S. Department of Education.
And that's where we first met, I think, when you were doing work with Linda Shevitz and with NICE and Agile as it later became. So when you worked for the Department of Ed, what was your function there?
I was working in the area of research, and whenever I could, I worked on gender equity research.
Yes. Some of the early research, too.
Yeah, we put together the first handbook for achieving what we called then sex equity in education. And now it's more generally referred to as gender equity in education.
Great. Thanks again, Sue. We'll be back in a minute.